All right, ladies and gents, daily trading recap for Monday, the 27th of September, 2021. A little bit of a hard P&L day for me, $70 on the downside when we're including OTC fees. Now trading OTC tickers, which I have not done in a little bit. SPY, a little bit of a nothingness day today. Daily's still looking decent. If we could see maybe potentially a little bit of a rollover here after we have a failed bounce to the upside, continuation to get back in that previous channel that we were trading in for a long time. We will see how we pan out in the next few days here. Dollar volume around the horn on the market. NASDAQ, we are right at the close, 2 minutes after the close here. Got some more stuff trying to do afterwards here, so not too much scanning for me. Prep work going in for tomorrow that I'll do later, but just preliminary stuff as of right now. But still, NASDAQ, $150 billion volume, pretty on the low side. Nicely $200 billion volume. OTC's $1.8 billion volume. We'll see if that can grow a little bit more in the after hours here, but that's still pretty low for what we should be potentially accumulating more and more going into the winter months of trading here. 3 different tickers trading for me today: RNAZ, GTOR, and CRVS. Had a lot on the watches coming into the day. I think potentially a lot more than I'm used to. I don't think it was too much, but just a lot more that I was putting into prep work, and it kept me more invigorated and inspired to trade in the market today too. Just wanted to go over a lot of different tickers on the day too. Well, I'll start with this introduction still of just how we are seeing all of these big percentage movers and just how they're continuing to move in the entire market itself too. It's just made to wear you out. And that's what I wrote in my journal today of that's what the entire market is it's designed to be a machine to just chip and chip away at you and deteriorate you every single day, one day at a time. And that's just through individual price action, whether you're a swing trader, day trader, every single aspect of it. It's just, if you let it affect you in that regard, it's gonna have its way with you 100%. So I have to just keep that focus in myself every single day too, that the market has no emotions. The market doesn't care who I am, of how many days I've taken losses or what I've been through on the day beforehand, or anything outside of what's actually happening in the price action. Does not matter whatsoever. So just keep the focus of this thing is not meant to give you any amount of pleasure or satisfaction. And that's where I cannot derive my meaning of myself from these blinking red and green lights. And great continual reminder of that today as well too, that I try to force, and I come to the market every single day excited and ready to go and attack the opportunities that are provided, but then potentially when it doesn't happen, or when things don't necessarily go my way, or I miss different other things that I have to understand, it's a great reminder to take a step back, humble myself, and to say that this is not where I get my satisfaction. This is not where I get my life from, or who I define myself as. It's just that continual grind of understanding this is really just a means to get money, to not have to do this anymore, right? I go running so I don't have to go run, right? I go for swims so I don't have to go swim. I literally hate those things. It sucks being in it, right? But that's the same kind of reason that I know specifically for me too, that I do this, and really anything that's looking to get me money. I go and try to get more money so I don't have to go and try to get more money. That's the whole point of it. I want that money to work for me in every aspect of correlating it back to that health and gym example of running and swimming. Life is just funny that way. But all right, so we did all that. PHCH, I just wanted to go over PHCH. I didn't even see this ticker on the watches. I think number 7, Jack number 2 mentioned it, but good to see that a morning dump type of candidate, the charts that have been trading to the short side pretty well, played out pretty well today. Again, I didn't see this whatsoever. It's happened, of course, way early in the pre-market that I just realized, but good to see that that type of price action at least is working out. And he tried to short it actually right at this VWAP failure. Played a pretty nice little percentage there too. Not insane dollar volume, I don't think too, but just good mention on that one to see that potentially some morning dump price action is going to come back into the market. I'm not steadfast in that or hard on that as of right now, but identifying the patterns as they are exposed. RCAT we'll get into here, the biggest percentage mover, dollar volume mover on the day. Total dollar volume coming in under $1 billion, which is interesting to see in regards to dollar volume, over 500,000 trades on the day. Really looking for this one on that morning dump or the dip and rip setup. And when it gets to this, we get this nice little curl to the upside. It comes back down to VWAP and just kind of holds around there. It's just everything inside me is saying, okay, just hold there. Don't do anything crazy. Don't try to get so finicky with it. Just hold there. Get a nice little dip out of the open, and we could trade this perfectly. Everybody can be beautiful to the upside except the stupid shorts who are jumping in way too early. But then, of course, you get this nice little curl back to the upside even before market open. And it's really at that point that, and then especially after the first 2-3 minutes of market open, I just take it off my screen entirely, pretty much. That I was just, man, I do not want to trade this. And Chris actually traded this one pretty well to of buying the dip. The conviction on his one of playing this second dip here, I'm guessing risking that low day, played a pretty nice little block, 10 point percentage to the upside on that one. And then the choppiness factor, I relate this back to what I just said in the introduction of, that's the reason why I took this one off of my watch list and kind of just saved my energy from it, because it was just, I knew I just didn't want to be a part of it for how choppy it was going to be and how many. Yes, there was a little 10% block here, nice little opportunity, but then you had to hold through this hard red volume candle here as well, and you had to hold through this little VWAP consolidation. Again, another rejection here on hard volume. Hold that break to the upside. So many different variables trying to hold this one. It was just mind-numbing for me. So I knew immediately from the get-go that when it was going opposite of what should have been a normal dip and rip pattern, or when it was trying to play games a little bit too early, I just said, okay, I think my mental capital, at least for me right now, is just going to be better spent on different charts. So took it off of the forefront of my brain pretty early on. But going into tomorrow, I think it's holding pretty well. Obviously under VWAP, holding this kind of 3-4ish line. We'll see what it does the rest of the after hours here, but could see. My best guess is the highest probability on this is it does start to just fade. Maybe the next few days too, it just does nothing and starts to bleed off more and more. Maybe it gets another chat pump to the upside, or news pump to the upside, press release. Huge volume day compared to even the recent daily of what we've seen here. Just, yeah, absolutely crappy daily. Just random kind of volume day too. So this was the prettiest pig in the show today on the scanners that everybody had their eye on, and that's the reason for it too. It's just such a crowded space that everybody's getting involved in. That's the reason why this thing just chops so much up and down and all around. I don't want to be a part of it. I have to be where the action and where the opportunity is, but when it's just so crowded and flooded like this, it just turns me off immediately in a sense too. So I actually looked this one up too, just quick mentions on, I traded this one stupidly to the short side on the 14th and 15th of July. I think trying to play to short side in this pre-market here that I got stopped out on this day. That was stupid trade. I think I tried to classify that as a first green day short type of trade on that one, but it was just from this big run up. But then of course it ended up reversing, which now I can identify that, hey, that's a pretty good long opportunity, especially seeing this consolidation on, let's do, this is the 19th that I'm looking at. But even on that day too, the little consolidation building up and up, it's nice little percentage moves there. And I'm identifying that now, that's saying, hey, even on this 19th, that Friday day, for how the daily looks as well too, you're just getting that intradaily nice little perk consolidation pullback and then continuing to test that nice run up to the upside. So good to see on that one. And then prefacing that too, and I think of course this was an offering when that happened on that 19th. 424B5 that came out on that day. But yeah, just taking that, factoring it into the potential opportunity for what it could do today, seeing if it had any of the same characteristics, or knowing that big percentage moves could come out of this one today too. This one also did have a few little here and there different offerings, warrants at different price levels. Nothing really even close to the dollar volume it pushed today too, or the volume it was pushing in the morning session. So I mean, you could say, yes, there was a lot of overhead. There was some at 4.5, I think, and just other different ones Chris pointed out, all of them, and I found a few, especially looking at this one hard in the morning session, but nothing that I thought should have held this thing down as hard as it did today for what this really price action was. I thought we should have seen a lot more squeeze, especially with everything that was continuing to push this thing up higher and higher and higher, the higher lows coming in, and even through all the fake outs. And Chris, the high conviction in his trade too, to buy that dip, especially risking that little bottom there for this thing to continue off, but then just have no legs to continue on. Yes, it's going into a little bit of the lunch session, but just surprising to me to see that it didn't have the opportunity, the legs, the strength to continue on higher, to go crazy, at least for a nice little green day trend the rest of the day. But that's the market we're living in. It was funny to me too, in Bowen's pre-market prep, I showed a 9 million float on my scan software. Bowen mentioned that he saw it added a 35 million float, so I'm guessing that's through his stocks to trade software. And then Yahoo Finance said 29 million, so pretty wide range for what the float potentially was on this ticker today. And a great reminder for me too to, hey, it's always better safe than sorry to double check, because I would have been trading this one potentially as a 9 million floater, thinking it was a super low float, when if I was on the stocks to trade platform, I would have been thinking, oh, it's a bit of a higher float in a sense at a 35 million float. So very different range in that one. Checking also the indicator of borrowing fees, just for funsies, looking at trade zero, saying, hey, what's the potential? Is it just a super high borrowing fee, saying that a lot of shorts are already bagged in this one? It was very reasonable the whole day, less than 4 cents a share pretty much throughout. I think I checked 4 or 5 times in pre-markets into the first half hour of market hours as well too. It was not crazy whatsoever. So I don't think it was a lot of shorts getting squeezed to the upside for this potential up move. Just as another indicator point that I love to look at as well on RCAT. So I think I certainly beat that one to death for me not actually even trading RCAT, but just great mention, of course, that I have to include in these ones. GTOR, the OTC ticker. Have not traded OTCs in a long time, and great to kind of brush the rust off on this one. Great opportunity. Had a big volume day, previous trading day on Friday, last Friday. Huge percentage move going from low of 5 cents to high of 11 cents. Very nice, over 100% move on that one. Had a big old gap up, immediately kind of sold off right at the open. I was looking to trade this one kind of as that little dip, dip and rip in a sense on an OTC, which is kind of just sharp dip out of the open and then buy. Of course, in hindsight, I knew that I should have been risking that red to green, this high of day kind of line, 115 level from that Friday trading day. But then as we're getting here too, that I see this dip, I see a bottom's being put in, I see, okay, a lot of volume is being pushed to the upside on this one. I want to take at least a little stab on it. Took 2,500 shares on that one, which is like a little over $500 position size, I think, if I'm right. I knew when I was trading it. Trading it to the upside, we got an immediate perk all the way to like 13.79, all the way up there. And I'm like, sweet, I love OTCs. Why have I not been trading these things more, right? That immediate dump, or the immediate dip and rips the upside. I was thinking, okay, sweet, I'm definitely going to look to take off shares if it gets above 14. And then it started to pull back more when the spread just began to widen, and it wasn't the biggest dollar volume mover on the day. And at that point too, then I just had an order in as it was coming back down closer and closer. Bid was kind of slipping off. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be in this one. I knew it from the get-go too, that not having traded these OTCs in a while, I got to get my feet back underneath me and get my bearings on how these OTCs work. And, shoulda, coulda, would have been still risking that high a day, the red to green line. But even when I was sheepish enough to start trying to get out early, to just, take the profit when it's there and not just risk it around or play around with what was even for me a little dip and rip strategy of not even a high conviction trade on that one for what I thought it could do, just go immediately to 15 back again from that little dip. I was just trying to get out, and I sat there for a long time for how little-ish volume was trading on this one. It was decent volume, but even for my share size, it was just like I was sitting there for a long time and then canceling orders, putting my limit order way, way, way below the best bid. And it was just like continuing to sit there over and over. So then even at that point too, I was like, I know I should be risking that red to green line, but I know too, if that comes and if I'm waiting for at that point, and I'm even having trouble getting filled here as it's hovering for right now, I just do not want to be a part of that panic if it continues to drop off to the downside. That's how panic did by start, right? So I just got out when I could, got out literally for exactly break even, 1245. I think I got in nicely on the bottom of that candle, and then pretty much bottom wicks on that second candle as it was coming down to slap me. And it did break that low, but then held, of course, that perfect high a day line to a very nice percentage move to the upside. And coulda, shoulda, woulda potentially just traded it firstly off of that. Been waiting for it to say, I thought it was just basing there, and it wouldn't even come close to that high a day line for how far it already gapped up and the potential legs that these OTCs can have. But then, of course, it did perfectly come back down to that high a day line, pretty much risking it off of that and getting a nice trend right back to VWAP. Price action continuing to move to the upside, and really great percentage move to scale out of if you can get the volume liquidation for whatever size you were trading on that one. Then just hard fade the whole rest of the day. God, it's hard for me to say that this one has a panic. Yeah, I don't think this one panics at all whatsoever tomorrow, of course, coming from the volume that it had today and the red candle that it was today. But just sad that it was a slow fade, slow bleeding fade, rather than a potential panic dip by opportunity that a lot of other people could profit off of and lose money off of, which is good to see. That was GTOR break even, which ended me up down $10, $11 from after OTC fees on that one. RNAZ was my big trader on the day. Over $1,500 position size on this one. Looking for that third day surge type of pattern. This one was a crazy mover last Thursday. It just kind of kept ripping and ripping and ripping. Float on this one. Look it up here again. That was a little, yeah, it doesn't even actually report. It's just so sketchy. It doesn't report the float, any statistics on my scan software. Looking for more volume to come in to shove this thing to the upside, and just didn't happen. We got a nice little perk, and I thought I was trading it well, kind of riding the little bit of momentum wave, but that was going to carry us further and further to attract more volume pretty soon after the open. Got a nice little fill at 378 with volume coming in on this candle too. That shows, yeah, at 500 shares. Nice continuation, move to the upside. Kind of barely just tap below that 395 level, pull back more, and just interesting to see that, hey, we got more dump off, just lack of volume coming in to support this one. Pre-market, and let's see, high from this day, this little peak, it was 375-ish area, and that became a point of a little inflection that clearly played out here at this point, where bid was holding that pretty well, and then it was it just fell off of that a little bit here at this point, this 10:02 mark that I highlighted in my journal, that broke that, obviously collecting a lot of the longs stops that were playing off at that point, looking for the same type of trend that I was. And then you got the quick reversal to the upside, which I was like, I'm so glad I stayed in this one. Obviously not risking that 375 mark. I was initially risking kind of like 37. I knew if it pulls off that far to 37, I definitely don't. The trade shouldn't pull that far if it's going to work to the upside from there, which is the thesis that I try to put on all my stops of where I put that risk level. So then had a nice push to the upside, and it just kind of petered out, didn't even come close to touching that previous high, and just failed, and then hit my stop. That 3.7 just broke pretty much immediately, and I was only left to scalp up the 3.67 bidders that were left after that 3.7 broke. And I just continued to fade the whole rest of the day too. So that was all of that one. Now on to NAKD, the run-up boy. This one I was hoping there was a little bit more of a consolidation, just a little bit more of a stutter step, slower moving, until we could build up a little bit more to a nice explosion to the upside. I think I mentioned that Friday as well too, that I was hoping. I think Mark Crook even said this, a little bit of the same thing, that he was trying to buy the dip, play off a little bit more of a slower run up, try and find any amount of kind of halting or just maybe fake breakout, and then pull back a little bit for a stronger move to the upside. Because the percentage moves, yes, it was up 21% today, but it's hard to like holding from, an 80 position here, then saying, okay, now I'm holding the close, when that's, not an awesome percentage move to the upside. So not the most volatile, but I think if it was to gain a little bit more of that consolidation, then we could see that harder move because of this former runnerness, the low floaterness of it. Didn't trade this one because of that fact too, that, God, it was just hard for me to justify an entry in this one because of that lack of volatility. And I really want to see the move pretty much immediately happen from there, or see the strong trend immediately come from there. And just this chop fest that happened midday to say, okay, well, great, that 78 level held. You can base a trade off of that too, but the risk level that comes off of that, the probability that I think it could actually pull back a little bit more in the next few days, maybe actually do what I'm talking about of consolidate a little bit more, just take a little bit of a break and then build up a little bit more steam to get a nice shove to the upside. But just good percentage move. Good to see that it did actually have a nice move, and it's moving well in the after hours here as well too. So I'll continue to keep an eye on it. Really don't have any hard trading thesis on it as of right now. It's going to need a lot more volume to continue this parabolic move, of course. That we'll keep an eye on. If it doesn't have that, then we can potentially keep an eye on it, paper trade it to the short side if that allows. But yeah, that's all I had on that one. Let's bust through some more here. CRVS was my last trade on the day. Just 20 shares. I really ran out of cash after that RNAZ stop out. So this was just a 20 share little trade in and out. Had this one, had MRIN on alerts to say if it was going to hit this price level, if it was going to reclaim. I knew I definitely wanted to be in it. Nice little first green day-ish after 3 red days previous to this one. Traded this one on that third day, Thursday. Looking for, well, is it Thursday or is that this day? I forget. But looking for that curl and peel back up, and it actually ended up happening this day. I get the alert pretty much as it's, I think I said it's 7-8 or something, I forget, but pretty much right as it's 7-5. Actually, I set it at. So pretty much right after this hard green spike too. And then again, it's hard for me to justify how hard do I think this is going to continue the upside if I'm buying immediately directly after this hard green perk that's getting us to the point. That's an always good mention too, for me, especially because yes, we're at that point of inflection, point of no return that I was really basing the trade off of that I want to see. I think the volume profile showed it a little bit better on my scan software too, of that 7.5-ish area, just because it's a whole dollar level as well, for what it did around here on this pullback day, and maybe basing a trade off of that too. But then a point that I always mention on this one of if it's perking and showing just hard, immediate, kind of random straight up spike to that point, that doesn't mean that strength is going to continue past that point either. That's just showing that there's strength randomly to get to that point, right? The difference of correlating this back to what I mentioned with NAKD of, real strength comes from the consolidation and the time opportunity of drawing that out for buyers, sellers to establish themselves for that trend to actually come in, versus you just get this quick and immediate move to the upside, quick and immediate move to the line or the region where you're interested in, to say, okay, is this going to cause a catalyst effect to happen from there, or was it too quick of a move for anybody to really realize it, and now you eventually have to wait a little bit longer for any type of real trade to come out of that. So it did actually end up coming out, held pretty well. Again, just so freaking choppy. You get these little fake breakdowns below VWAP. 2 of them, you get a fake breakout to the upside that pulls back more, breaks down VWAP again, but still ends up holding pretty well. And then I established 20 share position as it breaks that 7-8 high a day. A little nice move to the upside, taps that 810 level, pulls back more, and just fails to have the legs continue on. It was a pretty high position, or hit pretty high percentage move even today from that point of 8-1 coming from 7. So, but I knew that it's a super low floater. It's super sketchy coming 18 million floater, American biotech, especially for the days it had previous to this one, of how it just continued to keep slapping and slapping and slapping on very little volume too. Just had more conviction that this was plenty of upside. I had a limit order at like 9. I thought this thing was going to freaking 20, right? But definitely thought it had more room than at least 8.5 in the works today. Having a little bit of sell-off in the after hours here, but just unfortunate to see that. Had to pull back and hit my stop out at kind of a random arbitrary level that I set at like 7.2. I got stopped out pretty much at that bottom again. I got to get out of that avoiding. It's hard for me too, of how much I have to rely on stops and just being away from the computer screen. But man, I'm just in that little rut of how do I get out of buying at the tops and selling at the bottoms, and identifying. I got to be more involved with the level 2 and time and sales on all those. Kind of more like Tui and Chris as well too, for how well he's reading level 2 time and sales and working on that. I think that's another huge step up for me in my game, of being able to find those precise entry points and knowing when to be buying as everybody else is selling, be selling as everybody else is buying in those key moments too. That's going to be a key move for me as a trader in the future. MRIN I mentioned. Again, I had it on the watch list, watching for this $11 whole dollar mark for how this run up has been. Really nice little volume past 4 days here that we've been seeing. Looking for that continuation. It was the former runnerness. It is the low floaterness. I believe it's a low floater. Yeah, 9.8 million floater that I have here. Knew that $11 whole dollar mark was going to be point of inflection, just because it is $11, even though it doesn't really define itself by hard technical ranges like that too, but I just put my alert, I think, just below that $11 mark. So getting ready, get established to be looking at this thing when it hit my alert, or just say, okay, it's around that technical range, be ready to go if it happens. So of course it hits it. And it's just at this point for me too, that I had to hold off once again to say, it's had that little bit of consolidation, nice little buildup. If you were buying into this thing beforehand, if you were in the trade even before the trade happened, which I try to do time and time again and end up getting screwed out. I think just like that RNAZ trade, where the trade isn't really 100% there yet, but you can't, when the trade actually comes to happen, almost, it's like you've already missed it, right? You got to be so precise with your entries and exits and guesstimating of when things are going to happen, and kind of fortune telling in a sense of when and where things are going to go. That's day trading in reality too, but it was a good no buy for me on MRIN. I don't think I had any cash left available to trade anyway, but it was a pretty much hard pullback once it tapped that $11 whole area. Could be pretty nice going into tomorrow. It curled back above VWAP, selling off a little bit here in after hours. We'll see what it does the rest of the after hours here, but it could be a nice little buildup if we get that volume. Same thing with RNAZ. It's gotta have that volume. Volume is the only thing that matters to push these things, and that's what we need. And I gotta focus that more on that of the volume. If the volume is there, then we can play. But if the volume is too much there, like RCAT, then it just becomes a problem for me too, the choppiness in that. So just monitoring the balance of that, just like everything in life, to keeping the balance in all of that. HLBZ had this one on the watch coming into today too, looking for any amount of bounce if it wanted to do that. Here they go again, another freaking 8:30 press release. And like I mentioned on this last Thursday too, it just has a continually downgraded effect each and every time they try to pump out a new press release. I didn't even look at what it was, or I forgot what it was today, but it was just abysmal percentage move. No volume coming in to push this thing. Everybody's just tired of it. And the market hours data showed that today as well too. So if I was any ballsier or more looking for just kind of educational experience, I would potentially be looking at this one as a longer term short. Maybe I should have been in this one. Maybe the more appropriate entry would have been on this one, as it fails to have that continuation after this day attempt and playing this more to the downside. And still, especially too, that's a great confirmation that this thing has to have something catastrophic, incredible for it to move up in price anymore. For how many times it's tried to and failed, it'd be a great longer term short type of hold. So in no way, shape, or form am I looking to trade it shorts with real cash, but obviously looking for it to come back to anywhere near its sketchy, stupid stock price level as a longer term short on that one. CEI, we're still mentioning. This one is a chart for the history books of the run up this thing has had and the volume that is just continuing to squeeze those shorts over and over and over again. The apes are going to get proven right. All the freaking people on Twitter who at 1.4 were saying, oh, just wait till this thing goes to $3. And I was like, okay, yeah. How many times that's happened before in the stock market? Oh, this thing is going absolutely parabolic, whether it's AMC or all the meme stocks or any hype stock whatsoever, that, oh, this thing's going up 1,000%, right? They're going to get proven right on this one. And kind of weighing the options in this one, that's good that we're going to see more bag holders in these ones that are going to get emotional at some point when trades like this don't work out, because they are now motivated by it or reassured of this type of trading style of just hold it, it's going to go up to the upside, just hold it, right? That stupid mentality that if that happens to play out with future stocks coming into the winter months especially too, that we could see more of these charts play out and get more people involved, get more emotions involved in this game, which we need to trade as traders, because that induces the volatility. Crazy overextension here. Be interesting to see what it does in the next few days. I'll be very interested to take this chart as a great lesson of even looking at these ones and identifying what type of variables go into these ones that create the huge and crazy overextended run-ups. It's obviously so hard and unpredictable to try and think that you can say, oh, I'm going to hold it from 80 cents to $3 over this time period, right? But what are some of the key variables? Does it have to do with the chat rooms? Does it have to do with the type of people that are trading this one on Twitter, of the different type of accounts? Is it just have to do with the fundamentals of the company, or is it, what variables go into these types of moves? Will be very interesting to see, to break this one down. If it ever has an end to it, we could see $3, $4, $5 break. Who knows? But it'll be very interesting to see. I will be chomping away on my popcorn watching that one play out. ILUS and TGGI. ILUS coming to the breakout again. Just a little bit choppy for me. I think some other guys were playing it in the chat. You get a little fake out in the morning, breakout from that high day, another new breakout opportunity. Not fully 10% little blocks here, but like decent-ish little blocks, especially just this block off of this consolidation to breakout level, that 4 or 5-ish. But hard for me to say, because for some reason I still hold myself accountable to that like 10% block trading mentality, that I can only really consider it a trade if it's that 10% move either way, whichever way I'm trading it, of course, which the big guys don't do that every single time. But I know for as of right now, the patterns that I need to be doing when I start to chase and when I start to become accepting of the 3% and the 4% trades, that's when I start to go off the rails more, because then I'm just looking for that quick move and the quick little dopamine hit of, oh, I just need 3% to get back green on the day, or any type of variable like that affects. But just hard on this one. TGGI that I went to as well. Had a little bit of panic out of the open, but not a huge dip by opportunity. It's just playing a long fade potentially if you were able to hold through this whole entire thing, but then when to know when it reverses. I mean, if you're trading off of any amount of trend line position, just break off of that one, knowing when to cut off this if you're saying you're done after that. But just tough to see that there's no great panic dip buys on this one, and it's kind of done for me too. Of the volume it had here and the red day that it was, could be kind of the long kiss goodnight on this one to the downside. But looking for, just for educational purposes, looking for a first green day on that one. And again, like I mentioned, not too much scanning for me as of right now for what I got going on. Or not too much scanning that I did going into this video today too, but I'll do that more later tonight, going into tomorrow as well. But that was all I had. Yeah, tough little down day on the P&L. Not too hard, not anywhere near hard, crazy percentage moves that I was taking. I was cutting losses quickly, cutting losses wisely as they were there, sticking to my trading plans and coming into the market more and more prepared. So I'm certainly glad on all those factors. I kept the right mental ninja perspective in all of this. I wasn't involving myself in any of the social media, any type of craziness. I was keeping myself focused, and I can't fight myself for that, and I can't hope for anything better. It's just how the market works, and just got to continue to grind away, understand the areas that I'm doing wrong, or what the market is showing when and where I need to be in, where I need to be out, or what fits my personality best too, which is, I think, is the biggest factor in all this. Is, yes, I can come and look at this and see all the different trading blocks that are there, the different opportunities, but understanding, hey, which one can I apply to myself? Which one fits me the most? And that's what's going to be the best for me going forward as well too, obviously, in everything. And that's just the continual refinement every single day too that we got to come for. So that is it. I thank you so much for watching. We will catch you guys tomorrow.